So I'm watching Anime of the Year when the wife walks in, where I quickly switched over to Josh Weissman, and I thought to myself, can I actually show this to the wife either? Josh was making soup dumplings, and that's when he said this.
You can do whatever you want with these soup dumplings.
This is the part where we play with our food and make s'mores soup dumplings. This episode is dedicated to Codius, one of our premium Discord members. If you want to support the channel, links are down below.
You'll have to forgive me on this one. I'm just now fighting COVID, but we are going to start with the maple marshmallows. Into your mixing bowl, add in 7 grams worth of gelatin to 10 grams worth of water, and mix this up with a chopstick just to make sure that all of that gelatin has incorporated with the water, and then let this stand for about 5 to 10 minutes. We're also going to need around 200 milliliters worth of maple syrup, and we're going to place this into whatever vessel you have to heat this thing up. Yes, let it drip because we are not wasting maple syrup. We're not wasting any maple syrup.
One day I'm gonna have one of those stoves that's like right in the countertop. That's gonna be cool. Please don't fall over. I do not want hot maple syrup in and or around my body.
I don't know, could be fun. You're also gonna need a candy thermometer to make sure this comes up to temp.
Doesn't really reach, so we're gonna have to monitor.
The reason why it doesn't reach is because I'm using a smaller amount of maple syrup than you would normally use. I just didn't want to make a ton of marshmallow.
Don't walk away from this. It can bubble up. It's not exciting when it happens.
And now for the all-important question.
Let me know if you guys are watching My Dress Up Darling. It's probably my favorite anime this season. Good waifus, good animation. Cosplay? Huh?
Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan? No, My Dress Up Darling. Let's get back to the marshmallows.
It just reached just above softball stage now. I'm gonna show it to you guys so hopefully you can see. This is at softball stage, which is just about 235 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe 230 degrees Fahrenheit. This is very hot.
Yes, it is molten hot, so place that aside and remove the thermometer so you get it clean before the sugar hardens. Then grab your mixer and let's do this. By now, all that gelatin should be nicely bloomed and absorbed most of that water, so affix it onto your mixer. Try as hard as you can to really get it on there. Then grab yourself your biggest balloon whisk or whatever whisk you're really using. Now we have to slowly start incorporating this maple syrup into this gelatin. The reason why you want to go slowly is because if you don't, you have a chance of scalding and burning that gelatin. This tempering process is very important. Do not skip this step. Once you have about half of the maple syrup in, you can go a little faster, but don't overdo it. Hit this with a pinch of salt because that's absolutely necessary, and kick this thing up to a nice high speed. The high speed is what actually incorporates a ton of air and starts whipping all of that gelatin together until where it looks like this nice white fluffy marshmallowy goodness. This does take around 10 minutes. Leave none of that marshmallow on that whisk because we all know what happens to the whisk.
No. There's a lot on there, you can wait.
Now in a previously prepared dish, I have myself a bit of parchment paper that I'm going to sprinkle some of this powdered sugar into. This is going to help make it so the marshmallows do not stick to that parchment paper, and then I realized that this isn't going to work.
Damn it.
The container I tried using was just a little too big and would have made the marshmallows really flat, so I got myself a different container that was a little more deep and a bit smaller. After you have all of your marshmallow laid into your container, spray down a spoon with some non-stick spray and then start spreading out that marshmallow. I ended up trimming off any excess parchment paper just to make this a little easier to work with, and then continue to spread out that marshmallow as evenly as possible. This is really important so this way you don't have any uneven bits that don't cure at the same time. Sprinkle this with some more powdered sugar right on top, and these marshmallows are ready to hang out.
The reason why I'm making this tonight is because this has to sit in for like 6 hours before we can use it. Rachel, do you want the leftovers? That was really good. Now for my next magic trick, I'm going to be making the chocolate ganache. This is going to represent the chocolate inside of a s'more. The ganache just makes it a little more extra.
For this ganache, we're going to use 120 milliliters worth of heavy cream, followed by 150 grams worth of chocolate. And you can use any chocolate here.
I got a golden ticket. I got a gold. Anybody? No? Am I just really old?
Now we do need to chop up this chocolate, 1, to be able to measure it, and 2, to be able to melt it later.
I feel like this is gonna be a lot of ganache, so instead I'm gonna dial back the heavy cream. We're gonna go with 120 grams worth of chocolate and 100 grams worth of heavy cream instead, just to dial it back. Gonna do one of these. You know, we'll just guess. Yep, that's good.
This is all science, guys. Just make sure you do nuke that heavy cream just until it's nice and warm, and then give your chocolate a nice chop. Again, chopping it up helps it melt very easily later.
I haven't had breakfast yet.
That doesn't count as breakfast. Place all of the chocolate into whatever heat-proof bowl you have, making sure that there's going to be enough room for that heavy cream later. Now I heated my heavy cream just until it was hot to the touch, and then placed it right on top of my chocolate.
I'm gonna let this sit for like 2 minutes, but I'm gonna put it back in the microwave to hopefully stay warm because it's very cold in the house.
After around 2 minutes, that chocolate should be softened enough to where you can basically just bring this together with a spoon. Just keep mixing your chocolate and your heavy cream together and the ganache should form.
That's it. That's how easy it is to make ganache. Now I couldn't find a vessel that I like to place this ganache in because I wanted it to be square. So I'm gonna be using my Japanese omelet pan. You gotta do what you gotta do.
I guess you could really use any vessel for this, but I'm just using this pan because it's convenient. Spray it down and line it with parchment paper. Once it's sprayed and lined with parchment paper, just place all of that ganache in there and make sure we get this as level as possible. This needs to cool down completely at room temperature, so make sure it is super even and then lick the spoon as your reward.
Now remember guys, it's not a soup dumpling without the aspic, and for the aspic, I am using Dulce De Leche.
Listen, I know it's a stretch, but Dulce De Leche in s'mores is a game changer. Just make sure you know how to actually use a can opener when trying to open this can up.
Yes!
You always get yourself a little reward for knowing how to use a can opener. Line a shallow container with a bit of parchment paper, trim off any excess parchment paper, then take all of that beautiful Dulce De Leche, do not eat this, and place it into that container. Once you have this nice and smoothed out and super even, place this into your freezer until we need it. It's going to be totally fine hanging out.
Now this isn't a s'more without the graham cracker. For that, I'm going to be leaning into Josh's original dough recipe, but we are going to be modifying it heavily.
Into a large bowl, place 170 grams worth of all-purpose flour, along with about 8 grams worth of brown sugar, around 2 to 3 grams worth of cinnamon. Give this a nice little mix, and then start slowly adding in 50 grams worth of warm water. Mix this very slowly to not create too much gluten into your flour. You want it to almost look like sand.
It smells like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Makes me very happy.
It does make me very happy, and it should make you very happy too. Now add in another 40 grams worth of room temperature water to your dough, lightly mixing this by hand. Remember, we want to make sure that this dough is fully hydrated before we start forming it. Once it's fully hydrated, start really pressing this dough together in the bowl, and once it comes together, put this onto your cutting board to start bringing this together. Now my dough felt a little dry because of the additional cinnamon. To help counteract that, I just got my hand wet and then started folding it together again.
Feels a lot better already just by getting my hand wet, introducing water that way.
This is a trick that I learned in the bakery that I worked in, and it really does help out if you're working with a dough you haven't worked with before. Adding the water to your hand is so much easier and a little safer than just pouring it right on top. After kneading this for around 5 to 6 minutes, you should have a nice, smooth, shiny dough. Once it's nice and smooth and shiny, form this into a small ball and then place this back into the same bowl that we used originally. Throw a lid on this and let this hang out for around 1 hour at room temperature until we're ready to roll it. And while that dough is resting, we get to cut up some marshmallow.
I love marshmallows so much. I'm so excited to try these.
Look at this. He hasn't even started cutting it up and he's already eating the maple marshmallows. Don't look at me like that. You know it's delicious. Cut yourself off a small sliver of your marshmallow to show off the inside. This maple marshmallow is beautiful and cloudy. Now we only need a small portion of this for right now. And to make sure that nothing really sticks to itself, we're going to be using some powdered sugar. I had to think about how big these marshmallows needed to be to fit inside of that dumpling wrapper, so I cut my piece of marshmallow up again in half and then cut these into small chunks. Once I had my small chunks, I placed it into that bowl with the powdered sugar and kind of tossed it around to make sure it was fully coated. I then placed this on a plate and then did the rest with the rest of that small bit of marshmallow I cut.
It's so soft, like incredibly soft. I'll play some extra Beat Saber today, okay?
I hope we have enough marshmallow by the end of this to actually make these dumplings at the rate that he's eating them. Toss all those marshmallows around in that powdered sugar and then move on to your ganache. The ganache needs to be cut around the same size that we did for the marshmallow, and look at this slab of ganache. That makes me happy. Cut off a small piece and insert it into your mouth because of course that's what you have to do.
It's so good.
Now cut off a real chunk of your ganache, making sure that we cut these to around the same size as those marshmallows. It doesn't have to be exact, but you want small bite-sized pieces.
You don't want to mess with these for too long because it is very heat sensitive, so if you're sitting here holding them with your hands, they will start to melt. Keep that in mind.
So now with our ganache and our marshmallows ready to go, we can start rolling out this beautiful cinnamon bao dough. Now we're only going to need around half of this dough for right now, so that way we can cut it in half and give it a whiff.
Oh, this makes me so excited.
It does make me so excited. I can't explain to you how excited I am for this. Take that small half piece of dough and roll this out into the little snake log thing and then cut these into around 20-gram portions. These wrappers need to be slightly bigger than a traditional one just because we're trying to fit so much into it. So the 20 grams is going to be an ideal size for these. Once you have all your pieces laid out, sprinkle one of them with a bit of flour and then start rolling this out with a rolling pin. The goal was to try to get these around 6 inches in diameter. This way I could fit everything inside the center of that dough without it spilling out the side.
Now here comes the very difficult part. Making soup dumplings and pleating them is not easy. I still suck at it, but I'm going to give it my best shot.
Best shot we shall give. Now place a small amount of that frozen Dulce De Leche into the center of your dough, followed by 2 chunks of your ganache and 2 chunks of your marshmallow.
I don't know about you, but that's worthy of a picture.
It is worthy of a picture that you can find on my Instagram. Link is down below. Now try to give these a good pleating.
It's also very difficult with marshmallow in the middle.
I don't want to hear your excuses. I want results. And results we almost yielded. Look at this little boy.
It tried its hardest. Dare I say, we have our first s'mores dumpling.
I'm really proud at how these came out, and once we have these all laid out, there's only one thing left to do. Place these onto some small square pieces of parchment paper. This is going to make it so it doesn't stick to our steaming baskets later. Now when you place these in your steaming basket, make sure you do leave around 2 inches worth of room in between each dumpling so they don't touch each other while they cook. I was able to get 4 in one and 3 in the other. Place these on top of each other, throw the lid on it, and let us place this over boiling water for around 7 to 8 minutes and really just hope for the best.
At least I got a backup just in case these fail.
We did have a backup, but we weren't planning on using them because we are confident in our ability. So after 7 to 8 minutes, remove it from the heat.
Moment of truth, guys. I am genuinely excited and nervous to see what these look like. They held up! I'm so happy. I've been working on these for 2 days. Oh my God. Dude, come on, that's exciting. Okay, we have 2 more steps that I didn't even tell you about yet. Yes! Ugh, so good. I'm so stoked. Oh my God, I'm sorry, I'm like geeking out right now. This shouldn't be a thing.
Now the last 2 things to do are sprinkle these dumplings with a bit of raw sugar. Once they're sprinkled, this is when we blowtorch them, and don't do this on a cutting board or with the parchment paper. Place this onto a pan and then torch them. This gives it that really nice, almost campfire-like feel to it. Now grab yourself a plate and a bit of that Dulce De Leche and give it a smear on your plate. This is just if you want to be extra. Also take some of your ganache that you've lightly warmed up so hopefully it hasn't broken, place it onto your plate, and then place those 3 dumplings right on top of all of that sauce.
But there's one more twist, guys.
You can't have s'mores without the campfire. For the campfire, we're gonna be smoking these.
You really think you can have s'mores without the campfire?
No, dude, we just discussed that part. So I'm using some applewood chips to give this nice smoky flavor, and look at it. Have you ever seen something so ridiculous?
This is it. This is when the smoke alarm goes off.
The smoke alarm didn't go off, but you know what went off? I'm not gonna say that. We're keeping that in. Look at these s'more soup dumplings.
This is the most extra dumpling I have ever made. A smoked s'more, potentially soup dumpling. My only worry is it didn't melt all the way inside, but we're gonna find out. Cheers. Oh yeah, I've definitely melted. My mouth is just filled. Dulce De Leche and chocolate and marshmallow. And then the cinnamon and the brown sugar. This tastes like a s'more, 100%, with the addition of Dulce De Leche. And it's a dumpling, but this is something I could put on a menu somewhere. I think this is amazing. Can I get any juice out of it? I don't know, let's see. There it is. See that? Here's my challenge to you guys. Try to make your very own soup dumplings. I don't care if they're savory or sweet, whatever you want to do. Then tag me on Twitter or Instagram. I want to see what you guys come up with. Seriously, I'm genuinely excited to try new stuff like this. Josh, thanks for being the inspiration of this video, and I can't wait to do more. My name is Chef PK, and remember, keep playing with your food.